Hi everyone, it's great to be here. My name is Vyom, and I graduated from Georgia Tech with a degree uh, of Masters in Analytics in December 2017. I've been working at Deloitte Consulting since February 2018 as a consultant. And prior to getting my Masters in Analytics, I worked in India for 2 years as a consultant at Fractal Analytics. And while in the US, I pursued a couple of internships, one at American Airlines and one at Uber, both of which were focused on data science. So I have about 2.5 to 3 years of analytics and data science experience. Um, and I have now about 8 or 9 months of full-time experience working in the US. I took my education loan from Prodigy Finance to fund my master's at Georgia Tech. So I was working as a data science and analytics consultant at Fractal Analytics, and I couldn't help but notice the sheer impact that analytics and data science could have on businesses, because we used to work with different industries, different clients in different settings, and I could really see that the field of analytics and data science was growing and would definitely continue to grow in the future as well. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to give a push to my career in analytics and data science, which is why I decided to go for a master's in analytics. And why in the US? Well, there's no denying the fact that US is still very much ahead when it comes to adopting new technologies, to adopting new fields of education, and then creating programs in that field of education, because there is just a huge gap between the supply and demand of talent when it comes to analytics, and also in some burgeoning fields like you have cybersecurity, or you have cryptocurrency, you have blockchain, and so on and so forth. At the time when I applied for a master's in analytics, the US had by far the most number of programs in data science and analytics. I think it was followed by Europe, and probably Singapore. So when I applied for master's in analytics, the choice was clear to go to the US. And then why after 2 years of work experience? You have to consider the fact that when you think of applying for an MS, it almost takes a year to prep your applications, give your standardized exams, and then secure funding, get your I-20, get your visa. So I had actually started thinking about MS, I think 6 to 8 months after I started my job. And then I got serious about it about a year after I started my job, and then it almost took a year to actually come here and start my MS. So it was a lot of factors that influenced me to come to come for a master's in the US. The first was I was really enjoying what I was doing. I wanted a big career push, and I wanted to learn more about this field. So this is why I came for a master's in analytics. So right after I got my admission letter, the first thing that I tackled was pooling together my resources in order to show them that I had enough funds to fund my first year of education. I think that's one of the most important things that they look at when they want to furnish an I-20 for a student, and that is when I guess I started making calls to banks. I started showing up, at seminars, trying to understand how I can fund my fund my studies in the US. I didn't have a lot of personal funds. I had just been working for 15 to 16 months at that point of time. So the usual thing happened. I talked to my relatives, I talked to my parents, tried to see what funds that I could put together. The universities are not very strict in terms of that you should have all those funds liquid. You can and you definitely should show things such as fixed deposits in either your parents' name or in relatives' name. Of course, you have to furnish sort of a letter from each one of the people that says that the funds in my fixed deposit are ready to be liquidated and are ready to be submitted in case they need to be used as funds for studying in the US. That's standard procedure. And of course, a letter from your loan provider in case you need to go to get a loan that says that they will furnish such and such amount of money when the student needs it. So I think just proof on paper that you have funds that are ready to go. That is all the university needs in order to get an idea that they can safely furnish your I-20. Um, my process with Prodigy Finance um, was very smooth, and I mean, literally what I did was, I didn't have much collateral to put down as for a loan, to get a loan from traditional banks in India. I did not have any relatives in the US who would be able to co-sign, for a loan for me in the US. I mean, the rates in the US are really low as compared to what rates we get in India from Indian banks. So I did try, reaching out to some relatives, but that didn't work out. In the end, what I had was, I had to take out a loan uh, for myself. So what I did was I literally went to Google and I typed in loans for master's studies without collateral, and a bunch of links came up. Um, I went to the link for Prodigy Finance. It was a very simple procedure in order to put in an application. They don't ask for much. What they do ask for is, what's your profile, where you're going to get your master's in, how much it's going to cost, and so on and so forth. Very simple application. It took me 5 minutes to put that in. 5 days later, I think I got a call from I think it was Michael Hollins at Prodigy Finance, who then told me that what I would need to do is get some sort of data on sort of earning potential after I would graduate from Georgia Tech in analytics, because Georgia Tech Masters of Analytics program was not listed in Prodigy Finance website as being eligible for for a loan. At that point of time, Prodigy Finance used to fund only MBA degrees, which is understandable because MBAs are much more of a safe bet when it comes to paying back their loan, because they do end up getting good job offers in the US. So Michael asked me if I could, get some data on earning potential, and then he could try and get Georgia Tech's Masters of Analytics program listed on Prodigy Finance's website, and then I could go ahead and apply for a loan. I got that data, I got back to them, and then again, within 3-4 days, Michael was able to get back to me with the good news that they had successfully added Georgia Tech's Masters of Analytics program to their list of programs which are eligible for getting funding from Prodigy Finance. And after that, I just put in my application for a loan. I think my application was approved within a week. That's 5 business days, which is much faster when you compare it to banks in India who make you fill out. Because I applied parallelly with banks in India as well. I wasn't sure, if I would be able to get a funding from Prodigy Finance. So that process with the Indian banks was going on in parallel. But once I saw the difference in, the application process for a Prodigy Finance loan versus the application process for a Bank of an Indian loan, the rates of interest, their terms of loan, it was clear to me that Prodigy Finance was the way to go. The interest rate was much lower as compared to Indian banks. There was no collateral, which I was happy about because I didn't have much collateral to put in, from the start. So all these things made me realize that applying for a loan from Prodigy Finance is easier. I was sure that I wouldn't face any issues actually in the disbursement of funds from Prodigy Finance to my university, because they said that as soon as I was required to put in when my semester would begin at Georgia Tech, and then they said that a few days before that, they would make sure that the funds would be dispersed directly from Prodigy Finance to the university in US dollars. So there would be no cost to me, from a perspective of conversion of US dollars to Indian money, and then conversion again from Indian money to US dollars. So all those things made me realize that this process would be much smoother, much simpler, and without much hassles. So that was why I decided to go with Prodigy Finance, um, because of all these benefits compared to Indian banks. I'll also touch upon my experience trying to get a job in the US. Now again, especially in my field, there is a gap in what talent is available versus what how much talent the companies in the US need right now for masters analytics. So there's the demand and supply gap definitely helps when I'm trying to apply for jobs. There's not much talent right now in the US in analytics and data science, but there is a lot of demand for people who know that. So that did come in helpful because uh, you know, I have a lot of friends who are not studying analytics and data science. Some of them are studying electrical engineering. Some of them are studying finance. Some of them are studying chemical engineering. So you do face a little trouble, or you do face some issues when you apply for jobs in the US, especially if you do not have a lot of experience working in your field. So I realized that I wasn't getting a lot of responses when I applied for jobs because I had only 2 years of experience in analytics and data science. So uh, the seniors at my program at Georgia Tech recommended that I do get some kind of experience working in the US in analytics, and internships are an easy way to get that. So I applied on campus for internships. On campus recruitments are huge in the US. They happen almost once every semester. Fortunately, I was able to get an opportunity at American Airlines, which was great. It's a great company to work for. Their perks are the traveling perks are unmatchable. And the people that I was working with were really smart. So what I ensured when I chose which company I would do my internship at is, would I be working with smart people? Would I be doing what I love? And what do my prospects look like after I complete that internship? Because a lot of companies in the US use internships as sort of a benchmark, to roll out final full-time job offers. So all these things were the ones that I considered while choosing which company I would intern at. The experience in American Airlines was great. I did 3 projects while I was there. All 3 of them were, um, uh, taught me a lot about how to actually apply analytics and data science in industry, especially in the US. So all those were good teaching experiences. I did my American Airlines internship during the summer semester in 2017. And then during the fall semester, I applied again, this time for part-time internships, because you have to take a few classes as well during the fall semester, so you can only work for 20 hours a week. That was the rule at Georgia Tech. I expect that you would have similar rules across other universities as well. For my fall 2017 internship, I choose Uber as my destination. I really wanted to explore technology and transportation industries, as sort of the industries I would go into after my graduation. So Uber was a good choice. I interned in their advanced programs division. That's the division that's currently working on creating flying taxis, or Uber Air, as they call it. What I worked on was sort of a concept that would allow us to um, put out a product that would be a mix between Yelp and Uber. So my task was coming up with a concept of recommendation engine. And again, that was a great experience working at Uber. I was a little skeptical going into Uber at that point of time, given all the negative press that was hounding them in 2017, if you recall that. But when I got to the US, all of my doubts were erased because there really is a huge amount of difference between what you read in the print media versus how a company actually is. My experience at Uber was really positive. Um, and again, that was a great learning experience. All of these internships provided me with very good speaking points, with very good experiences to tell about, to talk about when I actually tried to get full-time job offers. That would be definitely a recommendation any to any person who's going for a master's in the US is do try and get some kind of experience in the US, because companies, when they see your resume, they're really receptive to experience that you get or that you have in the US. It doesn't matter if it's part-time, it doesn't matter if it's full-time, but I really did see a big jump in the response rate of companies when I had those experiences on my resume. The recruitment process that I pursued was, being very active during on-campus recruitment drives. So as long as you are at a good university, there's going to be a lot of companies that show up on your campus to conduct recruitment drives. There's going to be a lot of career fairs, both within your university as well as in and around your university. Atlanta is a great hub for industry, so we had a lot of opportunities where we could go out to conferences, to seminars, to career fairs, and talk to people, network with them. Networking is a big component of getting the choice of the job that you want in the US. I would suggest you go ahead and create connections as soon as you're in your college. Your alumni base is one of the most important things that you can use in order to create connections. Your professors can introduce you to people with which they're connected in the industry. And again, knowing someone who already works at a company you want to work for is hugely beneficial, because then they can go ahead and put a referral for you in. Especially in the US, referrals are a huge deal, and they allow you to bypass through the usual resume screening process and all those things. So networking, finding connections in the company you want to work at, referrals, those are all very important things that I made use of when I was trying to find a job in the US. The other thing, as I mentioned, was on-campus recruitment drives, on-campus career fairs, and as long as you have a good academic standing, there shouldn't be any trouble, getting interviews from companies, because right now the economy is in a really good place. There's no downturn, there's no recession, so there are ample of job opportunities in almost every field imaginable. So as long as you take the initiative, to create connections or to find connections, to go to campus drives, to go to conferences, and have your resume in a good shape, you should have no trouble finding job offers. Especially for me, I made really good use of on-campus resources for recruitment. I did not have a lot of connections in the US to begin with, so I mostly banked upon making sure my resume was in the best shape that it could be, trying to find any internship experience that I could, creating connections using Georgia Tech alumni, creating connections using my professors, and going to each and every campus career fair that happened. So just being very proactive goes a long way in ensuring that you will have at least some interview calls for either your internship or full-time offer. in terms of my full-time offer at Deloitte, Deloitte came to the campus to recruit for their analytics and cognitive division. They focused mostly on graduates from the computer science program and the analytics program, because their analytics and cognitive division does short run analytics and data science projects for their industry clients. So uh, the usual process then took place. There were on-campus interviews, and there were some technical tests. There were some case studies, and then there were the final round of interviews at their DC office. And that's how I got my job at Deloitte. Um, and then I think what might have been beneficial was already the presence of my analytics consulting experience back in India, which was at Fractal Analytics, as well as my experience working in the US for American Airlines and Uber.